I'm 62 years old, and most people who see me at work assume I'm just another janitor scraping by on minimum wage. I wear a navy blue maintenance uniform with Chen stitched on the pocket, carry a toolbox that's seen better days, and drive a 2003 Honda Civic with a dent in the rear bumper. The paint's faded from years under the California sun. My daughter, Jessica, used to joke that the car was vintage when she was in high school. Now she just calls it an embarrassment. She has no idea that the Fairmont Grand Hotel in downtown San Francisco, where she sees me mopping floors and fixing leaky faucets, is mine. Neither do the 14 other boutique hotels I own throughout the Bay Area. My net worth sits comfortably at $95 million, but you wouldn't know it from looking at me. That's exactly how I wanted it. My wife Linda died 8 years ago from cancer. Before she passed, she made me promise something. We were sitting in the hospice room, and she grabbed my hand with what little strength she had left. "Thomas," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "don't let Jessica become one of those entitled trust fund kids. Make her earn it. Make her understand the value of hard work." I kept that promise. Jessica graduated from Berkeley with a marketing degree that I paid for, though she thinks she got scholarships and loans. She works at a tech startup in Soma, making $85,000 a year, which sounds good until you realize her lifestyle costs twice that. She married Brad Thompson 3 years ago, an investment banker at Morgan Stanley who pulls in $220,000 annually. Together, they should be comfortable. Instead, they're drowning. The trouble started last Thanksgiving. I was fixing a toilet in one of the executive suites at the Fairmont when my phone buzzed. It was Jessica. "Dad, can you come to dinner tonight? Brad's parents are in town, and I want you to meet them properly." I should have known something was off. Jessica usually avoided having me around when Brad's family visited. I showed up at their apartment in Pacific Heights at 6:30, still wearing my maintenance uniform because I'd come straight from work. Brad opened the door, and his face fell. "Tom, hey. Jessica didn't tell you to change?" "Change into what?" I asked, stepping inside. "This is what I wear." His parents, Dr. Richard Thompson and Dr. Patricia Thompson, both surgeons at UCSF, sat on the couch in what I'm sure were designer clothes. The apartment was decorated like something out of Architectural Digest, which confused me because I knew Jessica and Brad's combined income couldn't support this kind of lifestyle. Later, I'd learned they had $42,000 in credit card debt. "This is my father-in-law, Tom Chen," Brad said, his voice tight. "He works in maintenance." Dr. Richard stood and shook my hand. His grip was firm but brief, like he was afraid blue-collar work was contagious. "Maintenance. I see. And where do you work, Tom?" "The Fairmont Grand downtown," I said. "The Fairmont?" Patricia's eyebrows rose. "That's a lovely hotel. Do they treat their staff well?" Before I could answer, Jessica rushed in from the kitchen. "Dad, you came!" She hugged me, but I felt her stiffen when she realized I was still in uniform. "I thought you'd go home and change first." "I came straight from work, sweetheart. You said 6:30. Dinner was awkward. The Thompsons talked about their medical practice, their vacation home in Napa, their country club membership. Every time they asked me about my work, Jessica would change the subject. By dessert, I understood. My daughter was ashamed of me. After the Thompsons left, Jessica walked me to my car. The Honda looked especially pathetic next to the row of BMWs and Teslas in the parking garage. "Dad," she said, not meeting my eyes. "Brad's been thinking, you're 62 now, and you're still doing manual labor. That's hard on your body." "I feel fine, honey. But for how long?" "Dad, you're getting older. We worry about you living alone in that little apartment in Daly City." I rented a one-bedroom apartment near the beach, specifically to maintain this appearance. My actual home, which Jessica had never seen, was a 4-bedroom Craftsman in Pacific Heights, worth $4.2 million. "I like my apartment," I said. Jessica took a deep breath. "Brad and I have been talking, and we have a proposition. What if you moved in with us? We have that extra room we use for storage. We could fix it up for you. You'd have a place to stay, and you could retire. Stop breaking your back for minimum wage." "That's kind of you both," I said carefully, "but I'm not ready to retire." Her face hardened slightly. Dad, be realistic. How much longer can you really work? And what happens when you can't? You don't have savings. You live paycheck to paycheck. We're trying to help you. I wanted to tell her then. I wanted to explain that I had more money than she could imagine, that I owned the hotel where she'd had her wedding reception, that the scholarship that paid for Berkeley came from my own pocket. But I remembered Linda's words. Make her earn it. Make her understand. Let me think about it, I said. 3 weeks later, Jessica called me at work. I was replacing light bulbs in the lobby chandelier, balanced on a ladder 20 feet up. Dad, we need to talk. Can you come over tonight? When I arrived, Brad answered the door. He was holding a folder of papers, and Jessica sat at their dining table with her laptop open. They'd arranged it like a business meeting. Sit down, Tom, Brad said. It was the first time he'd called me by my first name instead of Mr. Chen. That should have been my warning. Jessica pulled up a spreadsheet on her laptop. Dad, we've been doing research. We found this really nice assisted living facility in Daly City. It's clean. They have activities. And the staff is great. Assisted living? Honey, I'm 62, not 90. Just hear us out, Brad cut in. He opened the folder and spread papers across the table. This is a financial planning document. We've calculated your estimated Social Security benefits, your current expenses, and the cost of the facility. With some belt tightening, it's doable. I stared at the papers. They'd calculated everything wrong, of course, because they didn't know about the hotels, the investment portfolio, the commercial real estate holdings. On paper, I looked like exactly what they thought I was, a janitor with nothing to his name. We're also prepared to help financially, Jessica said quickly. Brad and I have discussed it, and we can contribute $500 a month toward your care. But Dad, you have to admit you can't keep living alone. What if you fall? What if you get sick? I'm healthy. For now, Brad said. But Tom, let's be honest. You're 62 years old, you work a physically demanding job, and you have no savings, no pension, no retirement plan. You're one medical emergency away from being homeless. The way he said it, so matter of fact, like my life was already a tragedy. I felt anger simmer in my chest, but I kept my voice calm. And if I don't want to move into assisted living? Jessica and Brad exchanged a glance. It was Jessica who spoke. Dad, we're trying to help you. But if you're going to be stubborn about this, then we need to talk about your apartment. My apartment? You're renting month to month, right? For what, $1,800 a month? Dad, that's money you're throwing away. What if you moved in with us instead? You could save that money, build up a nest egg, and when the time comes for assisted living, you'd be better prepared. This was it, the real pitch. They wanted me under their roof, where they could control me, manage me, eventually push me into a facility. I'd become a burden to be handled. I need to think about it, I said again. Brad's jaw tightened. Tom, we're offering you a solution. I don't think you understand how precarious your situation is. I stood up. I understand perfectly. Thank you both for your concern. I'll let you know. Jessica followed me to the door. Dad, please, we love you. We just want what's best for you. I drove home in the Honda. But instead of going to my rental apartment in Daly City, I went to my real home in Pacific Heights. It was a beautiful craftsman with original hardwood floors, a chef's kitchen I rarely used, and a view of the Golden Gate Bridge from the master bedroom. Linda and I had bought it 35 years ago when Pacific Heights was still affordable. Now, it was worth millions. I sat in my study and pulled out the folders my lawyer had prepared years ago. Incorporated in them were the deeds to all 15 hotels, the stock portfolios, the investment properties, everything Linda and I had built from nothing. I'd immigrated from Taiwan with my parents when I was 15. We had $200 and a cousin's address in Chinatown. My father worked in a restaurant kitchen. My mother cleaned houses. They died believing the American dream was real because I'd proved it to them. I'd started with a single motel in Oakland, buying it with a small business administration loan when I was 28. I worked 18-hour days, 7 days a week. I cleaned the rooms myself, fixed the plumbing myself. Slowly, I saved. I bought a second property, then a third. By the time Jessica was born, I owned 6 hotels. By the time she graduated high school, I had 12. I could have retired at 50, but Linda was right. Giving Jessica everything would have ruined her. So I kept working. I took on the persona of a maintenance worker at the Fairmont, my newest and most luxurious property, and let my daughter believe I was barely scraping by. But now, she wanted me in assisted living. Now her investment banker husband thought he could counsel me on financial planning. I called my lawyer the next morning. James, I need you to draw up 2 documents. First, a formal lease agreement for the apartment Jessica and Brad are currently living in. I'm sorry, Tom. I thought that apartment was... It's mine, I confirmed. I bought the building 6 years ago as an investment property. Jessica thinks she and Brad are renting from a corporate landlord. I want a formal lease agreement, month to month, with a 60-day notice requirement for termination. James was quiet for a moment. And the second document? A letter notifying them of the building's sale. New ownership, lease not renewed. Tom, are you sure about this? I thought about Brad's condescending tone, about Jessica's spreadsheet calculating my precarious situation, about being told I needed assisted living like I was a child who couldn't take care of myself. I'm sure. 2 weeks later, Jessica called me. Her voice panicked. Dad, something terrible happened. Our landlord sold the building. The new owner isn't renewing our lease. We have 60 days to move out. That's rough, honey. I'm sorry. We don't know what to do. Rents in Pacific Heights are insane now. We can't afford anything comparable. We might have to move out to the suburbs, maybe even further. What about your offer? I asked. For me to move in with you? There was a pause. Dad, we're going to be apartment hunting. Now's not really a good time. I see. But listen, we've been thinking. You know that apartment you're renting in Daly City? What if Brad and I took it over? You move into assisted living, we take your place. It's cheaper than anything we'll find in the city. And then we could afford to keep helping you with the facility costs. I almost laughed. They wanted to take my rental apartment, which I paid for specifically to maintain my cover story, and leave me in assisted living. The audacity was breathtaking. Let me think about it, I said. That evening, I called Jessica and asked her to meet me for coffee. We met at a small cafe in Noe Valley, neutral territory. She showed up looking stressed, her hair pulled back in a messy bun, dark circles under her eyes. Dad, thanks for meeting me. This whole apartment situation has been a nightmare. I ordered us both coffee and sat down across from her. Jessica, I want to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. Why did you really suggest I move into assisted living? She blinked. Dad, I told you. We're worried about you. The physical labor. Your age. Not the reasons you told me. The real reason. Her face flushed. She looked down at her coffee. When she finally spoke, her voice was small. Brad's parents keep asking questions. About you. About what you do. At Brad's office Christmas party last year, his boss asked what my father did, and I said maintenance worker, and Brad heard his colleagues laughing later. They made jokes about blue-collar in-laws. There it was, the truth beneath the concern. So you're embarrassed by me? That's not Dad. It's complicated. Brad works in finance. Image matters in that world. His parents are doctors. Everyone at his firm comes from money. And then there's you in your janitor uniform, driving that beat-up Honda, living in a tiny apartment. It reflects on us, on Brad's reputation, on our social standing. I see. We're not asking you to be someone you're not. Just maybe retire. Let us help you. Then we don't have to explain anymore. I sipped my coffee. It was bitter. What if I told you I don't need your help? What if I'm doing just fine? Jessica laughed, but there was no humor in it. Dad, come on. You make what, $30,000 a year? You have no savings. You're one emergency away from disaster. How is that fine? You're right, I said. About one thing anyway. I'm not someone you should be embarrassed by. I pulled out my phone and showed her a photo. It was taken last year at the California Hotel Owners Association Gala. I was wearing a tuxedo, standing on stage accepting an award for Independent Hotelier of the Year. Next to me was the mayor of San Francisco. Jessica stared at the photo. What is this? Is this photoshopped? That's me at the Choa Gala. I was receiving an award. But why would they give you an award? You're a maintenance worker. I'm not a maintenance worker, Jessica. I'm the owner. The Fairmont Grand where you've seen me working, I own it. I own 14 other hotels too. I've been the owner since before you were born. Her face went through several expressions. Confusion, disbelief, dawning comprehension, and finally, horror. That's not possible. You're lying. I pulled up my banking app and showed her the balance. 9 digits. Then I pulled up the property records for the Fairmont Grand Hotel. Owner, Chen Hospitality Holdings, LLC. Principal, Thomas Chen. Jessica's hands were shaking. This can't be real. Why would you let me think you were poor? Why would you lie to me? I never lied. You made assumptions. I let you keep them. But why? I'm your daughter. Your mother made me promise something before she died. She was afraid you'd become entitled. She wanted you to understand the value of hard work, to build your own life, to appreciate what you had instead of expecting handouts. So I gave you a normal childhood. I paid for your college but told you it was scholarships. I bought you a used car for your 16th birthday instead of a new one. I taught you that money had to be earned. You've been testing me, Jessica whispered. This whole time, not testing, protecting. Your mother was right to worry. Look at you and Brad. Combined income over $300,000 a year, and you're drowning in debt. Credit cards maxed out. No savings. Living beyond your means. If I'd given you access to my money, you'd be even worse. So what? This is punishment? For being embarrassed by you? No. This is a lesson. You wanted me in assisted living because I hurt your image. You wanted my apartment because you can't afford your lifestyle. You never once asked if I was happy, if I enjoyed my work, if I had plans for my own future. You saw a problem to be managed. Jessica's eyes filled with tears. Dad, I'm sorry. I didn't mean... Yes, you did. And that's okay. We all make mistakes. But now you need to understand the consequences. I pulled out a folder from my bag. Inside were documents James had prepared. This is the lease agreement for your apartment in Pacific Heights. You're going to notice the landlord's name is Chen Hospitality Holdings. That's my company. I bought the building 6 years ago. You've been living in one of my properties this entire time, paying below market rent because I wanted you to be comfortable while you built your career. Jessica's face went white. This second document is the notice of lease termination. You have 60 days to vacate. I'm selling the building to a developer who's converting it to luxury condos. Dad, no. Please. We can't afford to move. We don't have money for a deposit on a new place. We're already maxed out. Then I suggest you figure it out. Cut the expensive dinners. Cancel the wine club membership. Stop shopping at Nordstrom. Learn to live within your means. But where will we go? I don't know, Jessica. That's not my problem to solve anymore. You're 32 years old. You're married to a man who makes over $200,000 a year. You'll figure it out. She grabbed my arm. Dad, please. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I was wrong about everything. Please don't do this. I stood up. I'm not doing this to be cruel. I'm doing this because your mother was right. You need to learn. And the only way you'll learn is by facing real consequences. What about Brad? This will destroy him at work. His colleagues. His boss. When they find out we got evicted. Then I suggest Brad learn some humility. Maybe he'll stop judging people by their job titles. I left her sitting in the cafe, tears streaming down her face. I'd be lying if I said it didn't hurt. She was my daughter, my only child, and I loved her more than anything. But Linda had been right. Love without boundaries isn't love. It's enabling. The next 2 months were difficult. Jessica called me repeatedly, leaving voicemails that ranged from angry to pleading to desperate. Brad called once, furious, threatening to sue me. I referred him to James, who politely explained that everything I'd done was completely legal. They moved out of Pacific Heights into a cramped one-bedroom apartment in Sunset District. I knew because I drove by once and saw them loading boxes into a U-Haul. Jessica looked exhausted. Brad looked furious. Part of me wanted to stop the car, to tell them it was all a lesson, to write them a check and make everything better. But I didn't. 3 months after they moved, Jessica showed up at the Fairmont Grand. I was in the basement, checking the boiler system. One of my maintenance supervisors, Marcus, came down to find me. "Boss, there's someone here to see you. Says she's your daughter." I found Jessica in the lobby. She'd lost weight. Her clothes were less expensive. Target, instead of Nordstrom. She looked smaller somehow. Diminished. "Hi, Dad." "Jessica. Can we talk? Maybe in your office?" I'd never shown her my office. It was on the top floor, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown. The desk was mahogany, the chairs Italian leather. Awards lined the walls. Photos of Linda and me at various hotel industry events. Jessica walked in and stopped. She turned slowly, taking it all in. "This is really real," she said softly. "All of it." "Yes." She sat down in one of the chairs. "I lost my job." "I'm sorry to hear that. The startup ran out of funding. They had to downsize. I was one of the first to go." She laughed bitterly. "Brad says it's because I didn't have my head in the game, because I was too stressed about our living situation." Maybe he's right. "What are you doing now?" "Looking for work. It's harder than I thought. Marketing jobs in the city are competitive, and I don't have enough experience for the senior positions. I've been applying to entry-level stuff, but they say I'm overqualified." She looked at her hands. "We had to sell Brad's BMW. We're down to one car now, my old Honda. The insurance is cheaper." My old car. The one I'd bought her in college. I'd given it to her when she graduated, telling her I couldn't afford 2 car payments. She'd driven it for a year before upgrading to something newer, and Brad had been embarrassed by it even then. "We don't go out to dinner anymore," Jessica continued. "Brad brings lunch to work instead of buying it. We cut Netflix and Spotify. We shop at grocery outlet." She looked up at me. "Is this what you wanted? For us to suffer?" "I wanted you to learn." "Learn what? That you were right and we were wrong? That we're spoiled and entitled?" Message received. "Dad, congratulations. That's not why I did this." "Then why? Why humiliate us? Why let us struggle when you could help?" I sat down across from her. "Because your mother made me promise, and because I've watched you make decisions for years that scared me. You and Brad earned good money, but you spent like you earned twice that. You cared more about appearances than substance. You were embarrassed by your own father because he didn't fit your image of success." "I know," Jessica said quietly. "I know all of that. I've had 3 months to think about nothing else. I was wrong, Dad. We were wrong. But how long do we have to pay for it?" "That depends. What have you learned?" She was quiet for a long moment. "That I don't know anything. That the life I thought I wanted was built on credit cards and ego. That I hurt you, badly, and I don't know how to fix it." She wiped her eyes. "Brad's been talking about moving. Maybe to Austin or Denver, where the cost of living is lower. Start over somewhere new. Is that what you want?" "I don't know what I want anymore. I thought I had it figured out, but I was just playing pretend. Playing house in an apartment I couldn't afford, working at a job I didn't really care about. Married to a man who..." She trailed off. "Who what?" "Who, I think, married me because I fit his image, the same way I was embarrassed by you. He wanted a wife who looked good at company dinners, whose family didn't embarrass him. Now that we're struggling, now that I don't have the perfect apartment and the perfect lifestyle, he's different, colder." "I'm sorry, Jessica." "Are you? This is what you wanted, isn't it? For me to hit rock bottom? Well, congratulations. I'm there." I pulled open my desk drawer and took out a folder. Inside was a job posting. "I'm looking for a new operations manager for the Fairmont Grand. The position pays $65,000 to start, with full benefits and a performance bonus structure. The job is basically everything: coordinating with housekeeping, maintenance, front desk, food and beverage, making sure all departments communicate, solving problems as they arise. It's hard work, long hours, but you'd learn the business from the ground up." Jessica stared at the posting. "You're offering me a job?" "I'm offering you an opportunity. But understand, I'm not your father at this hotel. I'm your boss. You'll be evaluated like any other employee. You'll work nights and weekends. You'll deal with angry guests and broken ice machines and staff drama. You'll start at the bottom and work your way up based on merit, not nepotism. Why would you do this? Because you're my daughter, and I love you. But also because I see something in you now that I didn't see 3 months ago. Humility, a willingness to learn. Your mother would have liked that. Jessica started crying. Really crying, the kind of tears that come from somewhere deep. I'm so sorry, Dad, for everything, for being embarrassed by you, for trying to put you in assisted living, for caring more about Brad's colleagues than my own father. I walked around the desk and hugged her. She felt small in my arms, the way she had when she was little, and I'd pick her up after she fell. I forgive you, I said, but you need to understand something. This job offer isn't charity. If you take it, you work for it. You prove yourself, and if you can't handle it, I'll fire you. Family or not. She pulled back, wiping her eyes. What about Brad? What about him? Would you .co-ld help us? Maybe co-sign on a better apartment. We're in this tiny one-bedroom, and it's just... No. Her face fell. Jessica, I will offer you a job. I will give you the chance to earn a good living, but I'm not bailing you out. You and Brad made choices that got you where you are. You need to make different choices to get out. That starts with living within your means, not having your father subsidize a lifestyle you can't afford. So we stay in the tiny apartment? For now. Save money. Pay down your debt. Prove you've learned something. Then maybe in a year, when you've shown you can be responsible, we'll talk about other opportunities. She nodded slowly. Okay, I understand. And Jessica? You need to decide what you want from your marriage. If Brad married you for appearances, and those appearances are gone, what's left? I don't know. Figure it out. Jessica started work 2 weeks later. I watched her from my office window on her first day, arriving 30 minutes early in slacks and a blazer that looked like she'd bought it at Ross. She met with Marcus, my head of maintenance, and he showed her around the property. By noon, she was helping the housekeeping staff reset rooms on the 3rd floor because they were short-staffed. Brad called me that evening. Tom, we need to talk. About what? About Jessica. She came home today exhausted, saying she'd been making beds and cleaning toilets. That's not what she went to Berkeley for. That's beneath her. She's learning the business. She's being humiliated. And now everyone at my office knows she's working as a glorified maid. Do you know what that does to my reputation? Brad, if you're calling to complain about your reputation, you can hang up now. I'm calling to tell you that you've gone too far. This whole thing kicking us out of our apartment, making Jessica work a minimum wage job, it's abusive. It's financial abuse. Jessica is making $65,000 a year with benefits. That's not minimum wage. And your apartment was my property. I had every right to terminate your lease. You did this to punish us. I did this to teach you, both of you. But I don't think you're learning, Brad. You're damn right I'm not learning. I'm not some blue-collar worker you can push around. I have a degree from Wharton. I work at Morgan Stanley. I shouldn't have to live in a shitty one-bedroom apartment in the Sunset because my father-in-law has some twisted lesson to teach. Then leave. Silence. What? Leave. If Jessica's family is such an embarrassment to you, if living within your means is beneath you, then leave. Get a divorce. Find someone whose father is a surgeon or a lawyer or whatever will impress your colleagues. But stop blaming other people for your choices. You want me to divorce Jessica? I want you to be honest with yourself about why you married her. If it was for love, then her father's profession shouldn't matter. Her job shouldn't matter. You should be proud of her for working hard and learning a new skill. But if you married her for appearances, for image, then yes, you should probably leave. Because that Jessica is gone. Brad hung up. 6 months passed. Jessica threw herself into the job with an intensity I hadn't expected. She learned every department, every system, every process. She was good with the staff, remembering names, asking about their families, covering shifts when people called in sick. The guests liked her too. She had a way of making people feel heard, even when she was telling them no. One evening, I found her in the basement, helping Marcus fix a water heater that had stopped working. She was covered in rust and grime, her hair tied back, wrench in hand. You don't have to do this, I said. You're the operations manager, not maintenance. Marcus is short 2 people tonight because of the flu. Water heater breaks. Guests on floors 6 and 7 have no hot water. I know how to fix it, so I'm fixing it. Where'd you learn? She smiled. Marcus has been teaching me. Says every good manager should know how their building works from the inside out. Same thing you used to say, apparently. I helped them finish the repair. Afterward, Jessica washed her hands in the utility sink. Brad filed for divorce, she said suddenly. I'm sorry. Don't be. You were right. He married me for the wrong reasons. When I stopped being the wife, he wanted the one with the right apartment and the right lifestyle. He checked out. We barely talked anymore. He started staying late at work, going out with colleagues. I think there might have been someone else, but honestly, I don't care enough to find out. How are you handling it? Better than I thought. Therapy helps. And this job, Dad, I love this job. I love solving problems. I love working with the staff. I love when a guest checks out and says it was the best hotel experience they've ever had. I feel like I'm actually doing something that matters. Your mother would be proud. Jessica's eyes got bright. I think about her a lot, about what you said, about her wanting me to understand hard work. I get it now, not just intellectually, but really get it. Every dollar I earn, I earned. Nobody handed it to me. And when I pay my bills, even though the apartment is tiny and my car is old, I know I'm paying them with money I worked for. That feels good in a way I never understood before. You've grown up, Jessica. I'm 32. I should have grown up a long time ago. Better late than never. She dried her hands. Dad, I want to ask you something, and you can say no. What is it? I want to learn more, not just operations, but the business side. Finance, acquisitions, development. I want to understand how you built all of this. And someday, if you think I'm ready, I want to help you run it. This was what Linda had hoped for. Not just a daughter who learned humility, but one who found purpose, who wanted to build something, who understood that wealth wasn't about spending, but about creating. We can do that, I said, but it'll take years. You'll need to learn every aspect of the business, work in every department, understand construction, finance, marketing, HR. It's not glamorous. I don't want glamorous anymore. I want real. Over the next year, I watched Jessica transform. She moved to a slightly bigger apartment, a 1-bedroom in the Richmond that she could actually afford. She paid off her credit cards. She started saving. She took classes at night in hotel management and commercial real estate. She also started dating someone new. Alex was a teacher at a public school in the Mission. He drove a Prius, lived in a rent-controlled apartment, and made $48,000 a year. He'd never heard of Morgan Stanley and didn't care about Brad's colleagues. He thought it was amazing that Jessica could fix a water heater. They got married at City Hall on a Tuesday afternoon. Jessica wore a simple dress from Macy's. Alex wore a suit from Kohl's. The reception was at a small restaurant in North Beach, just family and close friends. There were no ice sculptures, no champagne towers, no Instagram moments. Just good food, good wine, and people who loved each other. I gave a toast. My wife Linda made me promise to teach our daughter the value of hard work. It took me longer than I expected, and the methods weren't always pretty. But standing here today, watching Jessica with Alex, seeing the woman she's become, I know Linda was right. The best inheritance isn't money. It's values. It's resilience. It's knowing who you are when everything else is stripped away. Jessica came up to me after dinner. I have something for you. She handed me an envelope. Inside was a check. $50,000. What is this? Remember when you paid for Berkeley? You told me it was scholarships and loans. But it wasn't, was it? It was you. 4 years, out-of-state tuition, room and board. That's about $200,000. This is my first payment. Jessica, you don't have to. Yes, I do. You taught me that nothing in life is free, that education has value and should be paid for. So I'm paying you back. It'll take me a few more years, but I'll pay back every cent, with interest. I tried to hand the check back. Honey, that money was a gift. Then let me give you one back. Let me prove I've learned. Let me show you I'm not that entitled girl anymore. I kept the check. Not because I needed the money, but because she needed to give it. 5 years later, Jessica became Vice President of Operations for Chen Hospitality Holdings. She oversees all 15 properties and is spearheading our expansion into boutique hotels in Portland and Seattle. She drives a sensible Toyota Camry, lives in a modest house in Glen Park, and her son, my grandson, is learning Mandarin in public school. Alex still teaches. They're happy. Brad, I hear, remarried quickly. A lawyer's daughter from Hillsborough. I hope he's happy too, in whatever way he understands happiness. As for me, I still go to work every day. I don't wear the maintenance uniform anymore. Jessica made me stop that. But I'm in the hotels constantly, talking to staff, checking on properties, making sure the business Linda and I built continues to thrive. People ask me sometimes if I regret the way I taught Jessica her lesson, if I regret letting her think I was poor, letting her struggle, refusing to bail her out when she was drowning. I don't, because the Jessica who sat in that cafe 5 years ago, embarrassed by her janitor father, is gone. The woman who replaced her is someone stronger. Someone who understands that respect isn't about job titles or income levels. Someone who knows the value of $1 because she's earned every one of them. That's not punishment. That's love. The kind of love Linda asked me to give our daughter. The kind that hurts in the moment but heals in time. The kind that doesn't enable or excuse but demands better because it believes better is possible. Jessica calls me most evenings after work. We talk about the business, about her son, about life. She asks my advice, but she doesn't need me to solve her problems anymore. She's learned to solve them herself. And sometimes, when we're talking, I hear Linda in her voice. The strength, the wisdom, the understanding that wealth isn't about what you have, but what you build and who you become. That's the inheritance that matters. Not the hotels or the money or the real estate portfolio. It's knowing who you are, knowing what you're made of, knowing that respect is earned, not given, that hard work has dignity, that appearances mean nothing if there's no substance beneath them. Jessica knows all of that now. And that makes every difficult moment, every tear, every angry phone call worth it. Because in the end, I kept my promise to Linda. I didn't raise an entitled trust fund kid. I raised a woman who knows her worth because she built it herself.